Welcome to my Minecraft video, and this is about the 1.16 update and how the Nether and End relate to villages. In a previous video, I had said that villages do work in the End and in the Nether. However, that it wasn't a great idea to build in the End or the Nether because of ghost data and possibility of corruption. Things, however, have changed. And let's jump into it, and I'll explain what has changed and why you absolutely should not build in the End or in the Nether unless things change. Now, I prepared this world. It is just simply a platform here. There's not been any villages built here. However, we are about to build one. Single villager, single bed. The villager will link to it, and bam, we have a village. Now let's look at the data. Here we are in Universal Minecraft Editor, and we'll load up the copy of our world. We'll open up our files. Now you'll see these symbols, and they are sometimes a potential symbol of corruption. However, it is very typical to see them in a beta. Whether you have done anything in your world or not, it is typical to see these. It is also typical to see them in a world with corruption. Now, does that mean that these symbols automatically mean corruption? No, it absolutely does not. However, does it mean that it is a possible corruption? Absolutely, it means that. It is a potential corruption. Or it could be unrelated. So here we are, we have our village. We have one village dweller, just like we expect. And there's this villager ID number. Now that number is going to be very important. And let me show you why. Let's jump back to Minecraft. Here we are. We still have our single villager. We still have our single bed. Everything seems fine. Everything seems fine. Let's look at the data one more time. Once more, we're in Universal Minecraft Editor. We'll scroll down till we find our village. Once again, what is this? 2 villages. That's very peculiar. Let's look at them. Now, I want you to notice 4548. That's the last 4 digits of this villager ID number. Four, 5, 4, 8. Isn't that weird? That the same villagers in 2 villages? And all we did was load up the world twice? Every time I load this world, it creates an additional village. And it doesn't matter if I do it in this world or if I do it in another world. Every time I load the world up, it creates an additional village. Now these villages aren't being ticked. You'll notice that they have different TS numbers. Because they are not being ticked anymore. They are simply ghost data. Now, every time you create an additional village, this makes your world file size larger. And as we all know, the larger your world file size, the higher the chances of corruption. So every time you load this world, you create an additional Nether village. Now, let's jump back to Minecraft. Now, I want you to notice that while I load up this world, the first thing that this villager is going to do is link back to his bed. That's because the village is created each time I join the world. He freshly linked to that bed just then. You just saw him with green particles. So the village isn't actually saving the data, it's recreating the village each time. And as we know from previous videos, that data never goes away. So essentially each time we save and quit, we are destroying the village, and then when we load it back up, we're creating another village. Now, let's load up a fresh copy of this so I can show you what that means for iron farms, trading halls, crop farms, whatever kind of villager farm you want. Now, here we are in a fresh copy. Let's go into the Nether and actually construct an iron farm so that you can see that the iron farm will actually function. Now this is a fresh copy with no previous villages in it. Put our bed down on our villager. We'll make it nighttime so he can get in bed. We'll give him a workstation because all villagers need to work in 1.16. Get in your bed, bro. Oh. We're going to have to kill this guy. Why are the baby hitboxes so tiny? How come I can't hit him? That's the real question here. Jesus Christ, is it a baby convention? Why are the villager hitboxes wrong? Well, look at that. Hitbox. Hitbox fail. Swear to God, the game conspires against me. Now, I didn't fill in the middle part because there was a change in 1.16 where if a villager wakes up with glass above the bed, then he will teleport up through the block. The glass in their head, though, however, will keep them from moving around, so effectively keep them in place. Let me show you. I'll show you them going to bed, getting up, going to bed. See? They wake up during the daytime. They don't move around. They go to bed at night. Everything is fine with this village. We need another 10 beds for a total of 20. Now, all the conditions are met for an iron golem to spawn. Let's get rid of these blocks here. Even though an iron golem would spawn with his head inside the glass. Now, it's going to take a few minutes for our golem to spawn, because for some reason in the Nether, it is really slow, and I don't really understand why. Okay, now that we have a golem, let's save and quit and go look at the data. One more time, a universal Minecraft editor. View files. Scroll down and find our village. Everything seems fine, old guy. I don't know what the worry is. There's our 10 villagers. There's our cat that we had. No hostiles. And look, there's our iron golem. No problem, old guy. Everything seems fine. Okay, let's load up Minecraft one more time. As I load this up, I want you to notice the chaos going on inside the iron farm pod where the villagers are. Do you see all the green particles? Everybody instantly linking again? How come they're all relinking to beds? Because the village data wasn't saved. Now, these villagers should be asleep. Watch what happens. It's daytime. Did you see that? Did you see the aggro particles? They delink from their workstations because they don't have access to them. Because they're in front of the wrong ones. This village was randomly created the second we joined. So if you build an iron farm or a trading hall or anything like that, it isn't going to work because it's going to scramble the POI. All these villagers should be asleep again. Only 2 villagers are even on their beds. Everyone else is on a different bed that they don't have access to their bed. So each time you join the world, your iron farm, your trading hall, your crop farm, whatever that you have built in the end or in the nether will be scrambled. So not only do you risk possible corruption to your world, your farm won't even work in 1.16 in the end or the nether. So there is 0 point of you even building in the nether. An iron farm, a trading hall, crop farm, whatever involving villagers. You should have no villages in the end or the nether. Because the same thing is happening in the end. Now let's go look at the data one more time. Now here we are back in Universal Minecraft Editor. And just like before, we have 2 villages. Each time you load and unload the world, you are creating an additional village. And on top of that, it scrambles the village each time you load it because it's recreating the village each time you load it. Now let's jump back to Minecraft one last time. I want to show you one more thing. Now here we are back at the same village. Notice that it's a different set of villagers that are sleeping. It recreates this village every time you load the world. If we went back to the data right now, there would be 3 villages here. Now, I want to talk about a couple of things. In 1.16.0.64, I was able to break the village, kill all the villagers, destroy all the beds, and I was able to go back and forth between Nether and Overworld and save and quit and do a few things and eventually the ghost data would go away. However, in 1.16.066, I'm not able to get rid of the ghost data. Once the villages are created, each time I load it, it just makes another village, and there doesn't seem to be a way to get rid of any of those villages. And like I said, they aren't being ticked, they aren't going to spawn golems, they are just random data that is of no use to you, and it's just making your world size larger. With that said, since none of your villages are going to actually work in the nether anyways, you won't be able to trade with them. The POI will be scrambled each time. You aren't going to be able to make golems. You aren't going to be able to grow crops with them. Your village in the nether and the end are going to be worthless, and only bad things can happen to you. I am telling you right now, do not build villages. If you have villages, your best bet is to get rid of them before 1.16. Because only bad things can happen. I can't prove you're going to lose your world, but I can't prove you're not going to lose your world also. Each time you load that farm, you're going to create an additional copy of that village. And it's going to happen over and over and over. So if you have a village that you've built near the hub of your end, each time you go into the end, you're going to create another copy of that village. And so each time you load it, you're going to increase the size of your world file. So if you've built villages in the end, or you've built villages in the nether, or you're considering it with the new update coming up, you're like, oh man, things are going to be so great in the nether. You might as well leave your villages in the overworld. That's going to be my recommendation to you. Alright, as usual, links in the description. People that are doing cool stuff. Specifically, go check out Dr. Jan Cyan. Links to everybody else that I think do cool stuff down in the description. Thanks for watching. Keep your villagers out of the end and out of the nether. Alright, thank you.